So we're in here. People that don't like this movie, I'm just going to go out and say it. You didn't know what movie you were going to go watch. I'm just going to throw that out there. You went to a Doctor Strange movie directed by Sam Raimi, where Sam Raimi got to be Sam Raimi, and then you were upset that you got a Doctor Strange movie that was directed by Sam Raimi, where Sam Raimi got to be Sam Raimi. You're like, well, Spider-Man wasn't like this. Spider-Man wasn't allowed to go do the stuff Doctor Strange is.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all didn't hear the musical stings and the way that things happen in this and didn't think this is the exact same treatment he did and how he did Spider-Man, y'all need to go back and watch those movies. Because I rewatched them before last night. You could tell he put the same love and care in how he does with superhero movies at that. But before we get too far, I'm going to use the old Eye of Agamotto here that I have so gladly done that I got at one of my first Comic-Cons ever. And we're going to do some time travel, Mike, to the dear, dear distant past of last night, where I made a prediction that I thought couldn't happen.
Oh boy.
It would never happen because it's so far off. The ultimate dream thing that would never happen is somehow the level of secrecy and dedicatedness of the person who would sign the contract that they would reveal who's playing Reed Richards in that Illuminati scene.
Oh my God.
That's not going to happen, but it totally did.
Okay, so now I understand why the review and social media embargo was so tight. I get it now.
I love that we got comments from Emily Blunt. How she's like, I will under no circumstances play Sue Storm, but John Krasinski didn't say a fucking thing. He has been fan casted as that character since like 2007.
Yeah.
And they just drop him in the movie.
Okay, so question. Before we get too deep into the movie itself, you don't think this is like real casting and this is just
I don't know.
Because I could totally see this being like stunt casting just for the multiverse, because also Patrick Stewart's here.
I get that. But even in the multiverse of these things, they still look like those people.
That's true.
And some of these people might not show up again because you just saw bloopity bloop shows up. John Krasinski still got some years in him.
Yeah, he looks the part.
He looks the part, and Patrick Stewart doesn't have a lot of years in him. So I bet Patrick Stewart went, oh, I can show up and be Charles Xavier in the MCU movies? Oh, it's just going to be this one time, so they're not sure about stuff? Absolutely. This was literally Marvel taking their Fox Studio purchased dick and flopping it on the table.
Yep.
We have them all now!
So they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Black fucking Bolt was in that room!
Yeah.
All of that garbage is gone. All of it. They just went, we realized that was a bad idea. That's what he should look like. Who was that?
Let me pull that up really quick.
Because that was not Vin Diesel.
No, it wasn't Vin Diesel. It
was the big rumor that that's what he was going to be when they were doing that movie.
Anson Mount.
Who?
Anson Mount. He played Black Bolt on the show the show which shall not be named.
Are you for real? That's the same guy?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that guy got to redo something. Full Thor, I couldn't make it through that show, so I forgot at all.
I have never seen a single episode.
I've seen one, and it was bad. I'm glad that guy got to be him then. I'm happy. Full costume and everything, and actually treating him like the character should be.
Mm-hmm.
But man, let's go back a little.
All right. Going back to my comment about the strong and super airtight social media and review embargo, this is the synopsis per Google. Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens a portal to the multiverse. However, a threat emerges that may be too big for his team to handle.
That was a lie.
Yeah.
Because none of that shit happens.
Nope.
He gets thrown into the multiverse after the threat finds him.
Yep. Now I have to ask, and I know this is going to be a hard question to answer, considering we both have seen the show. But do you think that people need to have seen WandaVision in order to understand this movie, or is her motivation pretty cut and dry?
Man, this is so weird, and no one's gonna get this context if you haven't seen the anime. Watching this was just awkward, partially for me. Well, starting out because, like, I just watched the full anime and the sequel movie of Madoka Magica, which the whole premise is magical people given powers, and you do what them with you want, to the extent of what you would do for a loved one.
That sounds a lot like Doctor Strange.
So then now I'm watching this. I literally watched the movie sequel earlier today. And what happens in it is essentially this. Except they go back to Westview afterwards, pretty much. But I honestly think, as far as watching WandaVision, it would help to get the context of what she all did. But, like, you could give someone the Cliff Notes version where it's like Wanda created a whole town, trapped people hostage, and then got a hold of some dark magic. You can give someone the previously on, and they would be okay.
As a matter of fact, they do literally just that in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they give you what you need to do. And I tell you, I thought it was going to be him and Wanda taking on some dude that I've never heard of because it's Doctor Strange. And they didn't. Within less than 20 minutes into this movie, you're like, no, Wanda's the villain, and she's going to be what Scarlet Witch actually is.
Actually, Wanda's not the villain. The Darkhold is the villain.
What she did with the Darkhold is the villain. Because, like, even with the Darkhold spell, she had to come to with herself before she destroyed it.
That's fair.
Like, again, I hope this continues with these Strange movies where it's not just big fight with baddie, CGI happen, baddie go boom boom. There's, like, actual cool thought out endings to where you don't just get a classic CGI fist fight. That's what I appreciate about these.
But the reason I stand by my claim that Wanda is not the villain is because, A, her motivations are actually clear and understandable. It's just the Darkhold happened to feed on her desperation and her desire. But also, it's just kind of funny that this is the second franchise that Raimi is involved in which the villain is a book.
Yeah, I bet he was very excited when he got handed this movie. He goes, "Huh! I know how to handle this situation."
So if you want, you can call this Evil Dead with a budget.
With all of the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And he still made it look as kooky as you want. Like, man, I try to explain this movie in 10 minutes and I can't. Even with the brief synopsis that we've got here, I can't. And like, okay, so we get the thing. We see the multiverse version of, okay, also, Marvel, you probably should have thought of a better way to word every time you have a dream it's you seen a multiverse version of yourself, because you have now, like, locked in, you can't have a character have a dream ever again.
Yeah.
That was a pretty firm statement you just made in that movie.
Yeah, here's the problem with what Marvel's done with the multiverse so far. They've explained it like in different ways in like each time. So in Loki, it was like split up, like the timeline split in different branches. In No Way Home, it was the weird spell that Doctor Strange conducted, and now this is just, oh, so when you dream, you're seeing yourself in other universes.
It's like, they haven't exactly like, they've explained how they've accessed it in weird ways. That's the weird part, where it's like they've never explained where it's like, well, timelines converge, we need to get it back into one because that one's a different timeline. And like they even did it in Endgame, where it's like there's a different one. If you go in the past, you create a split and it just goes. And it's kind of like, through what means you access it does it differently is kind of weird.
Although I gotta give the first Doctor Strange movie credit for being the first time that the MCU has verbalized the word multiverse.
Mm-hmm. It's another thing. Like, this didn't do, we're going to talk about other movies. This was, again, just Doctor Strange.
Like,
I'm noticing a trend. These movies are no longer, recently anyway, giant references to other stuff coming. It's kind of more stuff with this character.
and yeah, and that is appreciated. It's also because Sam Raimi has barely seen all of the MCU. He was just kind of fed like the necessary stuff for his movie. Like they mentioned the events of No Way Home. In some ways, this is like a pretty firm sequel to WandaVision, or at least a more satisfying ending. Because I understand people who maybe felt that Wanda got off too easy at the end, and this is her actually dealing with the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a thing I say, and let's reset the counter, people. Everybody all at once. Who is the best villain? A villain that believes they're doing the right thing.
Yep.
And we're getting to the point where Marvel is borderline bragging about what they can do in these movies, because again, they make Endgame money every month now. So they don't care. These movies could lose them. They could literally go out and start giving away money and they'd still make money every month. It's unreal, the position Marvel is in and the amount of what I want to say, like guarding they have to make sure that this ship is being held in the right direction. And they're doing all sorts of stuff along with it that it should not stay this steady.
There's a lot of goodwill, both like internally at the studio and from audiences, clearly.
Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to explain to people, like I try to have conversations, I'm like, can you imagine that, like, eventually when Kevin goes, yeah, I think I might just go do something else. Like, it's one of those things where, is Kevin just that big of a nut for Marvel properties, or is he just that good? And I give or take, it's not all just Kevin Feige, but Kevin helps a lot. Is he just that good of a weaver?
I think he might be one of the best studio heads, or Marvel Studios is its own entity that just happens to be under Disney.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people forget that Disney bought them after Iron Man came out.
Yep.
A lot of people like to forget that.
It took a while for Feige to like directly answer to the heads of Disney, because before 2015,
I can't remember what the dude's name was.
Ike Perlmutter.
Perlmutter. Yeah, remember that being a big old scuff up where his like just crap was being whatever, and then as soon as he got off, the whole thing just went. But yeah, Wanda. Stuff needed to happen, but it's one of those things where she just secluded herself away, and you kind of thought that like she was fine, and you had to think something else was happening because you heard her kid's voice in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like when Strange goes to find her, I like, part of me was like, I thought they did a script mess up where I'm like, he didn't tell her what America's name was, and then they address. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah,
Wanda, what are you up to here?
Yeah, I noticed that too. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then she does the thing where it's like, oh, the hex was easy. Lying was the hard part.
Lie was the hard part. And it's like, now this even makes even more interesting the fact that they're doing an Agatha Harkness show.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to it at the end. Wanda's in a little bit of a different state. If she's still in one at all.
Oh, wait, yeah. But let's be honest.
Yeah, we'll get there. So this movie like never stops. Nope. Ever. We got our obviously needed to be there. Like, okay, so we get the dream sequence, and it's them dreaming about themselves. Again, Marvel really should have worded that differently. And then we get Chavez going through all of it. Hey, Manny, what's up, buddy? We get through the dream sequence, all that, going through to finding out that Chavez has got to figure out what Chavez has got to figure out, and that she brought back the dead body of that Strange through the portal. I was like, that was weird. You just had to show a dead body. I'm like, nope, let alone they had a plot reason. Yeah, so we're into the multiverse fast. I thought we were going to see more of the multiverse outside of like that one world, but that's all they needed to show.
That might be like the one disappointment I have, is that, you know, if this movie were 10 to 15 minutes longer, we would have had more time to breathe and kind of explore the multiverse. But no, Raimi and the writer Michael Waldron kept this pretty focused and to the point.
And I'm appreciating that, because, like, given how Raimi likes to do stuff, they could have gone off and just had kooky adventures for a while and then got back to the point. And they kept it pretty tight-knit. like they had a very clear vision of what they wanted with this movie. They're like, here's the excuse to do some really cool multiverse stuff and show some people that need to get rehabilitated, let's just say. And then we're also gonna, fix Wanda. And this is more of a Wanda movie than a Strange movie in a weird way.
It kind of takes the to a lesser extent, it takes the Mad Max approach where, Steven does have an arc. They both do, but he's there really to help Wanda get over the loss of her children.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they both have an arc of, facing their inner demons through external means.
Yeah. And it's which of what the thing was with him, which was Christine, which they didn't go through it all the way. They mentioned it on and on, but you kind of just got the fact that was one thing they regretted. And you got to see the flashbacks, cool stuff like that with America. And again, America was a character that I knew nothing about.
Same. And yet, I'm going to try not to butcher her, the actress's name.
Good luck.
Oh, hold on. Maybe Wikipedia can help me.
Because, man, I saw the name.
Xochitl Gomez.
Xochitl Gomez. Okay. All right. About the beginning. Thought the beginning was rough, but as soon as Sam McGrimmy directs and to direct, puddle scene was one that got. Yeah, that puddle scene was.
That was pretty intense.
Anytime special effects got to be on screen, I was just like, man, Sam Raimi, like you said earlier, was like, all right, this is what a budget's like. Because, like, you remember the skeletons from Spider-Man 1?
Yep.
Oh boy. Well, anyways, yeah. So they go through all the worlds, including some painted weird one. They basically have the ancient one hitting him out of his soul to go through all the random stuff again, and then they go to where they need to be. And like I said, there's no breaks on this movie whatsoever. Like, the scene where they see their memories is like the only time this movie puts on the brakes for like 4 minutes.
And that is, it's appreciated, but I'm also kind of annoyed because then I remembered, oh yeah, so this is the reason why the movie is banned in certain countries for 12 seconds.
Yeah. I was like, really? What is the problem? And as soon as that came on, I was like, y'all are kidding me. You've got to be kidding me that this was the effect. They showed no affection towards it. I take that back. She rested her head on her shoulder.
Like, come on.
There was no same-sex kissing. There was no nothing. All they literally said was mothers.
Oh, and for those who don't know, by the way, in the comics, America Chavez is an openly lesbian hero.
Did not know that. That's cool.
But I guess that's why they showed her parents instead, because that's something you can easily cut out of the film.
That is true. And if they did something with Chavez, there'd be a bigger thing, I guess. But yeah, they do that, and they find Mordo, and they make up a lie that they kind of Iron Man-ized Strange in this universe. I want to see the Avengers Endgame movie
in this
universe. There are few things where I want to see a what if happened where Black Bolt was fighting Thanos.
Same.
With Professor X there.
That would be honestly like a batshit experience.
And also, I had a person in my theater that just could not contain themselves. They were pretty good for the most part. They laughed when the title got brought up. People, they didn't say Illuminati as a joke. That is what that group is called. Sans, they replaced Iron Man with Captain Marvel. That is what that group is called. And that is who is there. If y'all don't know how Planet Hulk happens, they all went, "You're a problem." Boop, and threw him in a spaceship and sent them away. That's how originally the Hulk goes off, not how it happened in Age of Ultron, where he just went, "I'm too dangerous." But yeah, he gets tricked by Mordo, who has a shockingly short amount of screen time.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be more of a bigger deal in the Doctor Strange sequel,
considering his end credit scene. And also, they talk. This is one of the Marvel movies that had, and I don't know if this is why a lot of people are saying that it was weird. This Marvel movie had the least amount of hand holding in a long time, because they point blank reference that Mordo's been trying to kill him for a while. In this movie, you never see that.
Nope.
And he don't tell you where Mordo is in the 616, which they reference it actually as the 616.
Okay, that was actually pretty cute.
That was pretty great. I'm like, and there was a person sitting behind me, and I literally said, "And yours is 616." And they're like, "How'd you know that?" I'm like, it's just a thing. But yeah, and then they have him get whatevered. And we get to this thing where I'm like, okay, they're captured. And she says she works for the Baxter Foundation. I'm like, my brain is starting to go, "You're not doing that." You're just not. This is them getting around that, "Oh man, Reed couldn't attend the meeting, but we're in the Baxter building and something's going on." And they also reference, by the way, that those are Ultron bots.
Yep.
I was like, okay. But yeah. So they're like, "You're going to go meet the Illuminati." And like, first they're like, "Here's Mordo." Then they introduce Black Bolt. And then Captain Carter. Wish you would have called her Captain Britain.
I know.
Be okay with Carter, because oh boy, getting to see her in that suit in live action,
that was pretty cool.
That was ace. And then I like, okay, so they're like, all right, then it's Captain Marvel, and I'm like, okay.
By the way, I like that it's Maria Rambeau instead of Monica.
Yes, that was very cool. And I'm like, okay, you did the cool too that you were going to show. We're switching back to people from our universe, is what I thought when they show her. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, and by the way, here is the smartest person in our universe." And they just drop John Krasinski in the chair and the most awesome looking Fantastic Four costume I could have asked for.
Right?
Like nothing was weird. He's just there. He's like, "Oh yeah, sorry guys, just had to tuck the kids in." I'm like, you're just bragging at this point. That didn't get out at all.
Nope.
Not a bit. And I was so happy. Like, I showed the clip. I'm like, there's no way that's going to happen, because there's no way that level of secrecy could have been done where they didn't have someone see that John Krasinski's been talked to. I'm waiting.
So wait, hold on. Before we go any further. So really, in all the interviews that Krasinski's done, he's never brought up Fantastic Four once.
No.
That is
impressive. And the best part is, I've watched interviews for him with movies recently where people aren't even asking him. It's one of those things where he's been fan casted in fan art for so long, where it was just like, yeah, if they ever do one, it's probably going to be him. And then like, it's just been in the ether for so long to where it was just kind of like, all they're doing is asking people like Ryan Reynolds. All they did was ask people that were in Fox properties. No one was bombarding him. And you want to know a good part of what did it? I'm going to guess his wife going out on a tangent saying, I would have nothing to do with the Marvel movie and I have no interest in playing
Sue Storm.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's actually really smart on her part. Like, I at this point, I don't believe anyone who says they're not interested in superhero movies, because do you remember the tangent that Ethan Hawke went on a few years ago, where it's like, oh yeah, Logan, that's a good movie, but it's like, there are other movies, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 3 years later, oh, by the way, I'm in Moon Knight.
I'm in one of the most off the wall, kooky, oddball things ever. Where I get to command the color of purple and be the freaking avatar of Amit, the crocodile god of justice. It's like, Manny, we will get there, buddy. We will get there.
Wait, I think I know what he's referring to, but hold on, we're not there yet.
Look, Manny, buddy, we'll get there. But yeah, that did help sniff off the trail, because they're like, yeah, if she's not going to be Sue, he's probably not going to be playing Reed. But I tell you, Reed with a beard, I'm for it.
Same.
But yeah, and then again, it's one of those things where they're like, we're going to fix a lot of stuff. That's been the MCU lately. Black Bolt was in this movie for maybe 5 minutes, and it was better than the entirety of that Inhumans thing. And they just brought up all the stuff that he's the thing of, and this and that, and this and there. And then the other thing I was going to mention, I hoped happened, but it didn't happen. Well, no, it happened. I just thought it didn't going to. We knew he had the yellow chair. But when he comes in and they did basically an orchestral version of the 90s. Fucking 90s cartoon, I had to contain myself in the theater. That was so subtle. They did not blast it in your face, but they're like, the people that know, that cool thing's for you.
By the way, can we talk for a second about Danny Elfman's score?
In every scene, it's perfect.
I don't love the first Doctor Strange movie. I don't
either.
I have some major problems with it, which we'll get to in a second. But the one thing I did love was Michael Giacchino's theme that he wrote. And while you do kind of hear it in bits and pieces in this movie, the original music that Elfman composed is awesome.
And it's and it feels like how they handled situations in the old Spider-Man movies. All the situations would have musical stingers going out throughout it, and it would cut back into regular stuff. The way they handled music in those rainy Spider-Man movies is this. You could tell that he was allowed to get stuff done the way he wanted.
Bring up Manny's comment, because I'm pretty sure we're ready to talk about it now.
Well, hold on. We still have the entire latter half of that movie to go through.
Oh.
And it is the end credit scene.
Okay. We'll get there. So we'll get there soon.
We will get there. I promise you, buddy. We will get there. I appreciate you. We will talk about that in a second. But
okay, but let me explain the reason why I don't love the first Doctor Strange.
I'll probably agree with you.
And it didn't hit me until I watched a video by the YouTuber Laron Reedus, who talked about the What If episode, What If Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands?
Mm-hmm.
So really, the reason I don't love the first Doctor Strange movie is because in that movie, they make him out to be too close to Tony Stark in terms of personality. And what we lose is his compassion, like the loss of his loved ones. They don't even mention Donna in the first in the first
No.
movie, outside of like maybe a deleted scene.
Yep.
So when the I'll call it the incursion universe, Doctor Strange brings up his sister, I'm like, oh my god, they actually acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm. And you get to see that like he's trying to help people no matter what, and like that. And again, with that first Doctor Strange movie, I feel that they're like, we don't quite know what magic looks like yet.
Yeah, so they needed like they needed a pretty um a pretty blank slate audience surrogate character in the form of, you know, one of the easiest templates that they have.
Exactly. And it was like he kind of just did the things. They had the whatever. Doctor Strange to me was one of the more standard, we have an origin and then the character's going through it. Outside of, like I said, I appreciate with these Doctor Strange movies, they have different types of endings. That is one of the best endings in a Marvel, any superhero property ever. The fact that he just trapped him in an infinite loop where it's like, go ahead, keep killing me, buddy. I got all day. Literally all day until you feel like not doing this anymore. That was great.
Yeah, like the first Doctor Strange is still good. It's like very good. I just think this movie is exponentially better because it actually feels like a Doctor Strange movie.
It does. It feels like weird stuff is happening. And we need to talk. And like I said, we need to get through some stuff before we get to that, because I will say this outright right now. Wanda, when she's actually being the Scarlet Witch, is the scariest thing Marvel has ever shown in a movie.
Yep.
Bar none. This Wanda would have split Thanos in half in 2 seconds if given the opportunity. She almost killed him before. This time she would have not shown mercy and tried to torture him. She would have just killed him. And then used his underlings as play toys. Wanda kills the Illuminati in 5 minutes.
Yeah. It is a violent sequence, but it is awesome to watch.
Yeah. Let's run through some things, shall we? And it's where people were like, this was too violent of a movie. I'm like, no. This was where we started to realize that when people go bad, they can go very bad. And this was contained, but it's kind of like how I tell people that the ending for Gwen in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a lot worse than you think, because everyone's like, oh, she snapped her neck and whatever. I'm like, the inside of her head is soup. She cracks off that concrete and you start seeing the blood coming out of her nose because her head is literally just a container for liquid at that point. In this movie, they go to fight her. She murders most of Kamartaj, tortures a bunch of them, and then we get to the fight with the Illuminati. Reed Richards, being the guy who is like, we're not going to fight you. He's going to speak in your general direction and you're going to be fried, so you should walk away. With what mouth is he going to speak?
Oh, yeah. That might have been one of the scarier deaths in that scene.
He then literally melts his own brain. She then turns Mr. Fantastic into Silly String. Also, you want to talk about powerful beings in other universes, they mention that little Richards, he's alive. I don't need to tell you the most powerful mutant ever born is their child.
Yeah.
You think Wanda's scary? She ain't nothing compared to that kid. She cuts Captain Carter in half.
With vibranium.
Yeah. And then crushes Monica Rambeau. She puts Thanos' reign of terror to shame in minutes. It's unreal. and then she de-brains like Professor X. This was showing characters as it was one of the most accurate representations of a character when they've gone nuts as possible. I was almost gonna be like, are you going to do some no more mutants level of her having power horse shit in this movie? That they don't quite go there. But boy, do they show that she is not to be messed with.
A lesser director or maybe a lesser studio head would have made her say something to the effect of mutants.
Yeah.
And have this movie like directly jumpstart the X-Men, but I'm glad that didn't happen because that would have been too much. And I'm also glad that Kevin Feige's like, hey Sam, you just have to hit these beats, but other than that, do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. Because again, like I said with Reed Richards, how they're handling the multiverse is that those people, if they exist in one, they exist in the others. So what they literally did was, hey, guess what? All these people exist somewhere. We just haven't shown you them yet. But they're here in this one. So that means they're over there. We just origin storied 3 different characters that have to do with an ass load of other characters to where you get to now go, oh, I wonder how they're going to do that. And you know what they didn't do? Shove it in your face.
They were there for exactly the reasons they need to be there.
Exactly. They are being a lot more, what I want to say, surgical with this stuff versus going, Thor, Captain America, blah, 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 like they did in the earlier ones. And it's just like, they're just now like, cool. I hope you're paying attention because we're treating this more like comic books now that happen to be in movie form.
And they've honestly earned like they've earned the goodwill to be able to just do this now.
Yes, and Manny, yes, she did. And I love also the appreciation where they're starting to show heroes do the right thing, and it's kind of accurate and cool that right after Strange saw him fix all these villains before he sent them back in No Way Home, to where now his brain is erased of all that happening. And then in this movie, he's presented with the choice by Wong to take her powers. It's the right thing to do. He's like, no, I'm not going to do the quick fix. We're doing this the right way, which I skipped a step, but he basically did the thing he should have done the first time in Spider-Man, but correctly on his own this time while he forgot the lesson Peter showed him.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But before we get there, we get to go see, which I thought for a second that Benedict lied to us, because he said in an interview that is not the whatever version of Doctor Strange that we see, the evil one. I thought they were going to be like, how did you get to be here? I thought he was going to come through and just be like, yeah, the world's screwed because I did. And then that would have ended up being the what if version of Doctor Strange.
But I'm glad that wasn't, because again, while that was one of my favorite episodes of What If, I don't want like too much of that stuff to leak into the main MCU, because like it takes the special away from it being a what if.
It does, and like people thought we were going to see Marvel Zombies in this movie, and we didn't.
Well,
they're getting their own animated thing. Like, okay, we saw a Marvel character reanimated, but in my opinion, we didn't like see zombified like brains in it, but we got to see a reanimated Strange, which was Sam Raimi just went, can I please go a really weird, messed up corpse somewhere? And Kevin went, Yes. Which before we get there, one last thing before we talk about that last scene where he does that, which is one of the coolest things ever. Bruce's cameo.
It is so stupid, but I loved it.
He was basically what he was in the Raimi movies, where he was just the guy that had to fill the role. You stole it from that Strange Museum, I bet. You're one of those guys. And it took me a second where I saw his face. I'm like, wait, hold on. Yeah, that is Bruce Campbell. I love how it's just, yeah, Sam, what do you want? I need you to play a hot dog vendor that punches himself and sprays himself in the face with mustard after Doctor Strange says that he stole his cape. Yeah, sure. What do you need me?
Also, wait, what? Pizza meatballs or pizza balls?
Pizza balls? I don't know what that was. And I love also that just like it shows how messed up a lot of our culture is and how certain things would be done. Like, wait, you guys have to pay for food? But
yeah. I also love how that's just not true.
This is not true. Yeah. And but yeah, we get to the point of where like he takes the Darkhold and like it's one of the things that they drove home really well while using Rachel McAdams is like they're showing that Steven is selfish. They're trying to show that he always does for himself. And I'm glad they also got to show that Black Bolt just eviscerated him by saying, I'm sorry. Because people had to be like, this is what the real version of Black Bolt is like. But anyway, where like he actively went, okay, just do away with this. They lied to Christine in that movie because they were like, he did whatever. He openly let them evaporate him. And then they told Christine that he had to be dealt with. Because if Christine was told, yep, this is what it has to be, please take care of me, she wouldn't be like, all your strangers are selfish and need to use this book, because that's not how he acted in that scene with those guys. At all.
He knew what needed to be done.
Exactly. And he just laid there and accepted it. And then we get to this point where it's like, but wait, doesn't there need to be someone that you could dream walk to in the world over there? He's like, I never said it had to be a living one. I'm like, wait, and immediately the way he's animated, I'm not saying it looks bad, but I immediately saw Billy from fucking Hocus Pocus. Immediately his face looks so close.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a subconscious influence.
But yeah, and then it's like, you need to keep me safe from the dead, because they're going to be like, it's basically, you're messing with stuff, you shouldn't be doing this. When she brings him back, he's like, you're a sorcerer, be a sorcerer. Oh, and like, also, just like, it's not a big thing we have to talk about, like the fact that they literally, I don't think there's been a better use of music in a fight scene, literally, ever, in anything. They fought with the music that was being played in their scene.
Yep. That is by far my favorite scene in the movie. It's so stupid, but it's so Raimi. And this scene is the reason why I've actually turned a corner on the score. I was kind of worried that, because I love Giacchino's theme so much that like I would be kind of disappointed to not have it. But then we get the scene, it's like, oh, so that's why Elfman's here. Got it.
I'd not seen a picture of Danny Elfman since like he did the singing voices for Jack Skellington. Oh, I didn't realize recently that I've seen that Danny Elfman could like use me as tooth floss now.
How old are you now? Like 70?
Something like that. And he is in better shape than I could ever hope to be in my life. He looks like he's ready to star in a Marvel movie.
Dude is 68 and looks like he's 30.
And he looks like he could be Captain America. The dude's jacked. It's unreal what he looks like right now. But yeah, they keep him saying, and then he like used them and he makes a cape.
He makes a cape out of the undead. That is
This entire time, I'm just picturing Sam Raimi going, wait, you let me do what? All right, hold on. We've got more budget? All right. He looked like a kid in a candy store.
He absolutely did.
They have that thing where it's like, you're going to take my powers now. I understand it. No, you've been using your powers the whole time. You just didn't realize it. You take it where you need to be, and you're going to go whoop that witch's ass. And she beats the shit out of Wanda for a little bit. And then she's like, no, we're not going to magically depower Wanda.
But we are going to disarm you in a different way.
In a different way. Again, they don't just do the classic, well, this character's too powerful, but we need to have the movie end, so we're going to have this person through the power of heart and friendship. No, they didn't do that. They were like, no, I'm going to give you what you want. And it's what Strange warned you about earlier. You need to realize you are taking what you want from someone else. Seeing those kids terrified, that was so well done. The villain defeated themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's so well done.
But again, this is where my argument comes in that she's not the villain. The book is the villain, but I also understand she sought out the book for herself.
She was and that's again where it's like they believe they're right. This is what I get to with how well villains are handled in Gurren Lagann. Everyone believes they're doing the right thing and they're doing what is proper. And then eventually they have their consciousness moment. She realized that I had to be told by myself, I'm going to love them. Please know that they're loved. And then she figured out that I've been doing some shit wrong.
Yeah, this is kind of the perfect example of, and yeah, you can argue that the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once did like a better version of this similar concept, but of facing your inner demons through external means. In this case, Wanda seeing another version of herself and just completely breaking down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, and it's like, yeah, like, what did you think was going to happen, Wanda? You were going to have to kill yourself and take these kids. You would have to then come up with the memories you served with them. It would be literally Westview over again, except more screwed up. You'd be stealing them from someone else. And like, again, having smarter versions of these. Like, I'm not one of those people that thinks that every Marvel movie ends the same way, but a lot of it is just the villain overpowering or getting overpowered. I'm happy that every now and then we get one of these. Like, this to me was like, Patty Jenkins is another one where she doesn't want to have big stupid CGI fights at the end of all of her movies. This to me was like a kind of a better version of how getting everything you want isn't great. Mm-hmm. Like what they did with Maxwell Lord. But yeah, and then she's just like, yeah, no one's ever doing this again. And I'm like, does Wanda live through this? I don't know. Because it kind of seemed like she was like, I'm not going to be able to live with this. I made a mistake. I'm done. And outside of having her as a powerful backup character, what else can you do with Scarlet Witch?
Honestly, that's a good question. I mean, you know, this movie is going to make like $1 billion and people are, you know, falling in love with Elizabeth Olsen. So she may be back in some form or other. But like, I agree in that unless she has like a prominent role in the Agatha Harkness show, or maybe a solo Scarlet Witch outing. I'm not sure, like, narratively where she goes.
I don't either. Because like Marvel's getting to a point now where unless they have a purpose for you to be there, you're gone. And I appreciate that. They've got literally thousands of characters that they can use. And they're getting to the point where they're not scared to pull out the lesser knowns.
Mm-hmm.
I repeat, we just had a 6-episode show about Moon Knight. And Moon Knight is down the ladder farther than people that don't have proper MCU movies yet.
Yep.
Like, we have Blade waiting in the ranks, and he got out. And it's going to be played by an Academy Award winner, BT Dub.
And he was the one who came to Feige. He's like, I want to be Blade.
Yeah, after he won an Academy Award.
I think after his second Academy Award.
Yeah, my God. Oh, he's won 2. That's right. But yeah, and then we show America is like fixed her stuff, and he's like, "You're gonna find your parents, and you're gonna show them." And she thanks him, and he's like, "I'm glad I found you." And he got to finally be like, "I'm not selfish. I'm not an asshole. I do care about other people." And then we get the tease, which we're going to get to Manny's comment now, where he's like, "You use the Darkhold? You feeling okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. What's going on?" And then we get the end credit scene, which I didn't know Charlize did that. That she's like, "Yeah, I've never been called by Marvel."
I'm going to look up her character really quick.
I was about to ask you. That looked a lot like the weird reality slice thing looked like Psylocke, but that is not who she is unless they made her look real different.
So this is Clea or
Clea.
Yeah, Clea.
Oh, okay. I kind of know who she is because she's been in some cartoons.
For those who don't know, she is a sorceress and the disciple, lover, and eventual wife of Stephen Strange.
Yes. Okay.
And then somewhere down the line, she becomes Sorcerer Supreme.
That makes sense. Man, another big name is off the board. And another name that could keep going for a while.
So in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, there was a comment where someone said, so if Charlize Theron came to me, I would totally drop everything and join her on an adventure.
And then,
and now that I know, like, in the comics, she becomes Strange's wife, I'm like, yeah, no, I would totally do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't work out, man. I could not be more single if I tried.
Same.
All engagements are way off. And like, you have to pay for some things. We're going to go exactly to where Dormammu was.
Yep.
And then we're like, there were people leaving the theater like, guys, there's another end credit scene. For crying out loud, come and stay for it. It's probably important. And then, like, the 2 people that walked out didn't see it. And then, like, there's people behind me who were like, there's another one. Yeah, I got it confirmed by a buddy of mine that there's another one. It's just Bruce Campbell. And then he just looks at the scene. It's over. It's finally over. It was Captain America in Homecoming levels of, you're really still here?
Yep. He basically did the Ferris Bueller, go home.
Go home. Just do something else. Yeah. This was the scariest the Marvel movie's ever been. This was literally Elizabeth Olsen getting to be the Terminator. When she like spider crabbed the ring, walked out of that mirror thing, I'm like, okay. Kevin's letting Sam do a lot.
Yep.
And like when Scott Dickerson
Derrickson.
Sorry, who was still an executive producer on this. I'm wondering how that went down. If like, I don't remember exactly what his whole thing was of why he did that, but it's like, I almost wonder if we're like, he had a different version of Scary.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good question, because I do find it a little ironic how Derrickson left due to creative differences, and then Sam Raimi comes in, and now they get to do the scary stuff.
Yeah, I honestly think his was more straight up scary. And then they're like, we want a more scary tone, but to still have lighthearted moments. And they're like, Sam Raimi, but dialing the Evil Dead down just a touch. Because outside of the rape tree and a couple other things, this is the tone that a lot of that scary stuff was in.
Yeah. So Derrickson has a movie coming out this summer called The Black Phone, starring Ethan Hawke.
Yep.
And I guarantee someone during like his press junket is going to ask like about his version of Doctor Strange 2.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he'll have some details on what his version would have been.
Maybe.
But yeah, I am very curious to know like how his would have been different. But as it is, I said this on Twitter. Sam Raimi is now the only director I trust handling Steve Ditko creations. So, he's got Spider-Man under his belt. Now he has this. If he ever does like a DC film and does The Question, he's the first.
Mike, don't put that into my brain. Don't. Because now it's there and it's not going to happen. I'm going to want it to happen.
But Brock, you are the Oracle. Now it's going to happen.
Shut up. Shut up. Don't give me hope. Sam Raimi is so good at nailing characterization. And that's what helps. And they just went, we need a dude that knows how to do spooky stuff in a kooky way and knows how to nail characterizations of a person's true intentions. And he did all of that to a T here. And it's just like, I'm not saying he's the only guy that could do Doctor Strange, because they're not going to have, I don't know if they're going to have the same tone in the next Doctor Strange movie. But it's like, I wouldn't object if he did another one. But judging on what they're going to do, if it's not a horror movie, if it's more like psychedelic or like whatever they're going to have, pick a director that is aces for that singular thing.
What if they got the people who directed Moon Knight, Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, to do the third Doctor Strange?
Well, the thing is, and what I'm kind of getting at, I want to see what that movie is going to even be yet before I suggest names. Because like, if Multiverse of Madness, and like, if you would have told me it was going to edge this much on horror and like actually looking at some messed up things on screen, then I would have been like, yeah, Raimi was a really good pick. But it was like, Multiverse, he's just going to show a bunch of kooky stuff and do whatever. And like, I even said it in our Moon Knight review, it's going to be like every 10 minutes they're in a random door going through a maze, whatever. This is not the movie I expected, well, at all. And because Multiverse of Madness, give or take, they literally were in like 3, and that one is the one we started in.
Yep.
So they really didn't do that much hopping. They just used it as a plot device for Wanda was trying to get into the multiverse, and he just happened to be along for the ride. Where it's like, if we start, I need to see who the villain is.
Because I don't think the villain is going to be Dormammu. If Dormammu shows up in the third movie,
I fully believe he's going to be in it, but I don't believe he's going to be the main villain.
Do you think he's going to have like a sort of a Hannibal Lecter kind of presence, where he's like trapped in the loop, but they come to him for something?
I kind of feel like he's going to be a person who is doing stuff outside of his means through someone else, or like someone's trying to find, or like he's going to promise someone something to get what he wants, or he's going to be the thing that helps the real big bad get where he wants through the assurance that he's going to break the loop that Strange put him in, or like, well, he's not actually in the loop anymore. He broke him out of it when he said he promised he would no longer come to our world.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
So maybe he's going to use someone else to go there since he made this deal. So he could be basically the guy in the chair for a villain.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And we have to... something with Mordo. Because, like, that is one of the biggest dropped plot lines ever in a sequel that Marvel's ever done. He literally stole energy from a dude, crippled Benjamin Bratt, to just be like, well, you're going to see a different version of me, and oh, I also don't like you too. That was kind of one of the only things where I was like...
That's I think that's one of the downsides of the whole 5-year time skip between Civil War and Endgame.
Yeah. They kind of just expect you to roll with the punches and what the plot lines were. And for the most part, they can do that. But it's just like, Mordo was pretty set on getting even, and he's not even in the main timeline. So, like, if maybe Mordo is actually the third villain, that would be pretty great, because you have Chiwetel Ejiofor. Dude needs to have more screen time.
Yes.
I don't want a Justin Hammer situation where you get one of the most talented character actors on the planet and he's there
him.
Yeah. The fact that Sam Rockwell has never showed up in Marvel again breaks my heart.
I think he might be in...
Is he going to be in Armor Wars or whatever?
I think so.
I hope so. I hope he's the main villain.
Same.
I really hope so, because that
dude... The dude needs a redemption.
He does. And he is too good of an actor to not have it. He's one of the most underrated actors in history, in my opinion. He might be the best character actor on the planet.
At least top 5.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. What is it, Moon? Am I thinking of the right thing?
Yep.
Okay, like, just go. It's also his character in Seven Psychopaths. The dude's off the charts with whatever he's given.
He's also the lead in the animated movie The Bad Guys, and he will charm the pants off of you.
Oh yeah, he is too good for his own good, and he's too good at being... the thing that hurts him is he's too good at being a side character. He has nailed the role of being the random supporting character actor, and I'm sure he loves doing it. But man, he needs more starring roles.
Yeah.
But yeah, total score, man. Again, I was kind of like, Doctor Strange, in my opinion, and people will disagree with me, it felt to me like one of the most standard Marvel movies they've ever made. Like, stuff in it was cool, and like the mirror dimension was cool, but I'm like, yeah, this is all visual and whatever, and I don't feel like they're actually like dealing with magic. This time it actually felt like they were dealing with magic and consequences from magic and doing some things that Doctor Strange would do.
Agreed.
It feels like they're actually... now that they can take some risks because they have the biggest definition of financial backing every month, no matter what, they could take some risks and let some stuff possibly bomb. Which they won't.
Oh, yeah, of course not.
Because they're pretty much fail-proof at this point. Like, I had people telling me that this is worse than Thor: The Dark World. You just need to stop having an opinion.
I don't agree with that at all.
Anyone who thinks that much of an opinion was mad that they got a Sam Raimi movie, in my opinion.
I can understand, like, if some like hardcore Sam Raimi fans thought maybe this wasn't Sam Raimi enough, but even then, like, this is exactly the movie that I This is exactly the movie that I wanted to see from Sam Raimi directing a Steve Ditko character.
Exactly. And it was good. It was very good. And I'm happy we're starting to get more of these loosening of the leash with very stylized directors.
Same.
Because you could do a lot of good with it. Because, and like Kevin said himself, that there's probably not going to be another Avengers movie. So they don't need to keep a generalized tone anymore if these characters are only going to cross over with the characters that are in their movies. They can get away with a lot more. And they can make them feel different. A lot different.
Do you think we're ever going to see like a an Illuminati movie in the future? Now that they've kind of planted that seed?
Man, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to have the Illuminati just be a thing in that world. And even if they do, I'm fine because the Illuminati is a big deal.
That is true.
They're a governing behind the scenes. They are the Illuminati to them. Like people that say that, they think that's just some kooky title that Marvel came up with for them in this movie. No, they're literally the Marvel Universe's version of the Illuminati. That's what they're called because that's what they are. They make big deal decisions that the heroes don't even know about. Yeah, and I don't know what they're going to have, but I think that was their way of saying, guys, we can do what we want to now. We put all the old chess pieces back on the board, and in the future, we're gonna do some stuff.
One last thing before we move out of here. There were many moments throughout this movie that I couldn't help but think of John Schnepp and how much his head would explode from all of this.
It would. And there are fewer times where a lot of you that don't know what we're talking about. John Schnepp was a person who I got introduced to because of AMC Movie Talk. I know Mike because of AMC Movie Talk. And he was the definition of a sweaty nerd. He was the guy that just wanted the weird stuff. He wanted all of the just kookiness off the walls. I don't care if it makes sense. When they started fighting with music notes, I was like, Schnepp would have been orgasming in his chair. I can't even tell you how fast he would have ran to Cameo's house to be like, let's record that review right now.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's weird because I changed my name now, so technically it's not the same. But like one of the coolest things that I have now that I know that Schnepp passed was that I'm in the credits for his Superman documentary because I supported it. Because that dude was all about creative visions and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't think there's more of a movie that Schnepp would be happy got made than this.
I've only met Schnepp once at New York Comic Con in 2017. And he signed my copy of a Slayer comic that he wrote.
Awesome.
So yeah, I like if for no other reason, I'm glad movies like this exist. And I'm just glad to know just how much Schnepp loved this stuff, and it seriously has like impacted even my enjoyment of all of this.
It is, because it's like he was one of those people that was like, no, like weird stuff. Be happy that you like weird stuff. Don't let people think you're dumb. They're dumb.
Exactly.
Man. But yeah, I was just very happy. I love the movie. I'm going to be literally seeing it again in 2 nights with my roommate and his in-laws' families. So I'm quite excited.
Yeah, I'm seeing it Saturday afternoon as well, and if I can try to see it a third time in 3D, I will definitely.
Oh man, this would be one that'd be a trippy experience in 3D.
Yeah.
Oh,
in case I don't get to see it, and anyone else does, please let me know how it is, because I want to live vicariously through your experience.
mm-hmm. Man, this has me excited for future Marvel movies that they're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, even like in the immediate future, I want to see more of the supernatural. I want to see more cosmic shenanigans. And I even want to see whether it's a TV series or have America Chavez just be part of a team. I want to see more of this character, because we didn't really get into just how what a great first impression this actress made.
I'm gonna say, yeah, don't try. I would mess her name up. I'm not even gonna try it because I've tried to be respectful and not mispronounce people's names, and I know I mess it up. But yeah, she did great. Everyone did great in this movie. We're getting to the point now where it's like they're almost running out of call outs that they can do to old stuff. Patrick Stewart's is technically in the MCU. And we got to have him come out to the 90s cartoon theme.
Something I never thought that we'd ever see.
Ever. You weren't going to see that in the Fox movies, for crying out loud.
Everything from the music to the goddamn yellow chair.
Mm-hmm. Because every time that we got close to one of these with the Fox movies, they always soft rebooted themselves. They never committed to any of these big things. And anybody who doesn't get what I mean, watch any of those movies and then immediately try and pick up exact plot lines of the next one. They almost always soft rebooted themselves. This and the Transformers movies, they almost always did. They always went back. Because they're just like, well, that would cost too much to do. Like, yeah, I could just keep going on but talking like that. But then, yeah. And again, I don't even know where it's going to go because they literally just focused on Doctor Strange and said he'll be back. They're not even saying what they'll be back in anymore. They're just saying they'll be back.
Which is smart, because I think Marvel is learning now. It's better to keep things close to the chest.
Yeah. And like they said, they're not signing people to giant the rest of your life deals anymore. They're just get to that, because like Elizabeth Olsen talked about it recently in an interview where they're like, what's it like? He's like, yeah, Kevin just kind of calls me now and he's just like, what do you got? Okay. Sure, I'll see what I can do. Like, I like it like that now. They're established enough now where they need to be like, do you want to do this? We've got an idea. And you don't have to be scared of signing your life away.
Yeah, that's really how it should be done. Because I understand the thought process of, look, we're gonna need you for the long haul. Like I understand that for like job security and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just better. It's better to just cross that bridge when you get there.
And you can't tell me it's not better on them literally just trying to get along with their actors better, because like people like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth had to stay in generalized good shape for a good chunk of year period when they were filming Endgame and other movies, where it's like they're filming so close to each other to where if they wanted to do some role where they want to get obscenely overweight for whatever reason or do whatever where they really can't. And yeah, it's just a lot more freedom, and they know that when they call them back, we're like, cool. And I think that's like part of the reason why they're like, we're not going to do Avengers movies. We're just going to do movies. And we're going to connect them in their own little other special ways. Do team up movies.
Yeah, like the classic Marvel team up comics.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Mike, let's get out of here. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at CaptainK42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on Podchaser and the Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
Absolutely. And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, mostly on Twitch and YouTube. And until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.
Peace.